On August 26th, the Dodgers suffered another painful defeat to the Braves, losing 6-5 in an extremely frustrating game. On the mound, Roki Sasaki was chosen to start for the Dodgers. He entered the game looking for his sixth win of the season, but his start did not go particularly smoothly. In the first inning, Sasaki gave up a solo home run to Matt Olson, putting the Dodgers behind early. Sasaki continued to struggle afterward as the Braves collected several hits and forced him to use a high number of pitches in the early innings. However, the Dodgers' offense did not take long to respond. In the second inning, Tommy Edman opened with a double to put himself in scoring position. With 2 outs, Hunter Feducia delivered an important RBI hit to tie the game. In the third inning, Freddie Freeman created another opportunity with a well-placed double. With 2 outs, Edman came through again with a 2-run home run, giving the Dodgers a 3-1 lead. With a 2-run advantage, the Dodgers appeared to be taking control of the game. However, everything changed in the fourth inning. Sasaki ran into more trouble after allowing a runner to reach on a walk before the Braves successfully stole a base. Another hit then put the Dodgers in a dangerous situation with runners at first and third and nobody out. A timely sacrifice fly immediately brought in another run for Atlanta and cut the deficit to 3-2. The pressure continued to build as the Braves put runners at second and third with only 1 out. At that point, the Dodgers were suddenly forced to make a pitching change. According to the team, Sasaki had to leave the mound because of a blister on his throwing hand. That was a particularly concerning development because he was pitching at a time when the Dodgers badly needed stability from their rotation. The coaching staff was forced to bring in Edgardo Enriquez under extremely difficult circumstances. Enriquez immediately entered with 2 Braves runners already waiting in scoring position. The turning point came when Baldwin hit the ball hard toward left field, where Teoscar Hernandez was unable to make the play, allowing 2 runs to score for Atlanta. In the 6th inning, the Braves extended their lead when Eric Lauer surrendered a solo home run, making it 5-3. Despite falling behind, the Dodgers kept fighting and maintained hope of a comeback. In the 7th inning, Shohei Ohtani and Freddie Freeman recorded back-to-back hits, giving the Dodgers runners at first and third with nobody out. Mookie Betts capitalized with an RBI single, pulling the Dodgers closer. Max Muncy then drew a walk to load the bases. With a favorable opportunity, Tommy Edman remained patient at the plate and drew another walk, forcing in the tying run and making it 5-5. The Dodgers even had a chance to take the lead in the 8th inning. Despite already having 2 outs, they managed to load the bases. Max Muncy stepped into the batter's box and battled through a 9-pitch plate appearance. It was a major opportunity for the Dodgers to regain the lead, but Muncy ultimately struck out, allowing the chance to slip away. The game entered the 9th inning tied 5-5. Manager Dave Roberts turned to Tanner Scott with the hope of extending the game into extra innings. Scott was also the pitcher who had allowed the deciding run in the previous game, so this represented an opportunity for him to redeem himself. Scott started the inning well by quickly recording 2 outs. However, the Braves then produced a double, forcing the Dodgers to issue an intentional walk and creating a first and second situation with 2 outs. At the decisive moment, Ha-Seong Kim entered as a pinch hitter. Kim ultimately delivered an RBI hit to left field, bringing the runner home and giving Atlanta a 6-5 walk-off victory. Immediately after Kim's walk-off hit ended the game in dramatic fashion, the atmosphere inside the stadium erupted. Braves players poured out of the dugout to celebrate with Kim, while the Dodgers were left deeply disappointed after seeing the game slip away at the very end. However, the emotions of the victory quickly went beyond a normal celebration. Several Braves players moved toward the Dodgers dugout with what was described as a provocative attitude. Ha-Seong Kim became the center of attention after pointing directly toward Shohei Ohtani and making personal remarks toward him. Some reporters at the stadium even claimed those comments referred to Ohtani's family, making the situation far more sensitive and serious. In baseball, a walk-off victory naturally creates enormous emotion. The winning team has every right to celebrate, while the losing team has to accept the disappointment of falling short after battling through the entire game. But when a celebration turns into deliberately approaching the opposing side to taunt players, the line between excitement and unsportsmanlike conduct begins to disappear. The Dodgers quickly noticed the remarks directed at Ohtani. Several players in the dugout immediately stood up and responded verbally. The atmosphere, already tense after the walk-off, quickly intensified as the distance between the two groups narrowed. Within seconds, the verbal exchange turned into a physical confrontation. The situation then spiraled out of control as players from both teams came out of their dugouts. Shoving, grabbing, and heated arguments broke out near the foul line. Some players tried to shield their teammates, while others continued charging into the area, turning the incident into a chaotic brawl. With tensions at that level, Dave Roberts immediately appealed to the umpires and league officials. He demanded that the incident be taken seriously, particularly if the remarks directed at Ohtani were personal or discriminatory in nature. For Roberts, the issue was not simply about protecting a superstar, but also about maintaining acceptable standards of conduct between professional players. Ohtani, on the other hand, was described as not directly retaliating. He remained silent and tried to avoid escalating the situation further. However, his cold demeanor and restraint suggested that the remarks had clearly affected him emotionally. That is especially notable because Ohtani has long dealt with many different forms of pressure, from media expectations to constant scrutiny from opponents. A player may accept criticism of his performance, but when attacks shift toward his personal life or family, the emotional impact is entirely different. From MLB's perspective, the league would need to distinguish clearly between different levels of involvement. Players who enter the area only to separate teammates should not be judged the same way as those who initiated the confrontation or made the first physical contact. Likewise, personal insults would need to be evaluated based on the exact language used and the context in which they occurred. If Ha-Seong Kim were determined to have deliberately approached Ohtani and used abusive language, disciplinary action would certainly be possible. Any punishment could range from a fine to a suspension, depending on the seriousness of the conduct and the evidence available from video, umpire reports, and witness testimony. What makes the incident especially unfortunate is that Kim's walk-off hit should have been the defining moment of the game. A game-winning hit in a high-pressure situation is normally the kind of moment fans want to remember. But when the celebration that follows turns into a brawl, the baseball significance of the play can easily become overshadowed. For the Dodgers, this was also an especially painful loss because they repeatedly fought back to tie the game after falling behind. They even had the bases loaded in the 8th inning, but failed to take advantage. The biggest problem was the Dodgers' inability to finish off key scoring opportunities, while the bullpen once again struggled in the late innings. The fact that Tanner Scott allowed the deciding run on consecutive days will almost certainly force the coaching staff to reconsider how the bullpen is used in close games. Beyond the loss itself, Roki Sasaki's condition is another issue that will need to be monitored closely. His departure, because of a blister on his throwing hand, could affect the rotation plan in the coming days. The Dodgers already need stability from their starting pitchers, so any interruption at this point could place even more pressure on the bullpen. Even so, the game still demonstrated the Dodgers' strong competitive spirit. They did not give up after the Braves took the lead and repeatedly created opportunities to come back. But in one-run games, failing to capitalize with the bases loaded or failing to finish a defensive inning at the right moment often comes at a very high cost. This time, Ha-Seong Kim's walk-off hit became the final play of another deeply frustrating night for the Dodgers in Atlanta. That's the end of the video. Thanks for watching. Be sure to follow the channel, turn on notifications, and share this video with the biggest MLB fan